They never told me the door would breathe. I was pulled to it like gravity had changed direction. One moment I was walking the narrow back streets of Florence, rain clinging to my cloak like secrets. The next, I stood before an archway no map dared show. It wasn't just old, it felt aware. Its surface was carved with spirals and golden ratios, the kind Da Vinci once sketched in the margins of dreams. I raised my hand, and it opened with a soft hiss, like the chamber had been holding its breath for centuries. The air inside was thick with dust and time. Candles burned low on brass holders, flickering against walls that pulsed with gears, moving, shifting, whispering things I could almost understand. I stepped in slowly, every footstep echoing like I was walking across dimensions. Then I saw him, Leonardo da Vinci, not a ghost, not a hologram, real, ageless, timeless, standing beside a massive oak table layered in sketches, scrolls, and blueprints of machines I'd never seen. He didn't look surprised. He just tilted his head, eyes calm and deep and ancient, and said,
UnityEagle, the cipher has awakened.
Before I could even form words, the air behind him sizzled. Static danced in blue arcs across the stone. A loud snap echoed, and from the spiral painted on the wall, a tear opened in reality itself. Nikola Tesla stepped through, crackling with electricity like he was part lightning, part man. His coat barely moved, as if even the air obeyed him. In his hand, he held something I somehow already recognized, the quantum key. He looked at me like he knew me.
We don't have much time,
He said.
The singularity spiral has already begun.
I didn't move, not out of fear, but because everything in me was aligning, like my breath, my heartbeat, the low hum of the chamber, all tuning to some ancient frequency I didn't know I remembered. Tesla stepped closer and placed the quantum key in my hand. It was warm, not metal warm, alive warm, like it was breathing with me. Symbols shimmered along its edge, Mayan maybe, or something older, something before. Da Vinci motioned toward the table. The scrolls weren't written in ink, they glowed, blueprints of energy, machines powered by thought, a compass that pointed inward, a mirror that reflected futures. I stared at them, and they stared back. Tesla whispered,
It's your resonance that anchors the mission. Only you can open the next gate.
I turned toward the spiral on the wall, the rift still pulsing with light and sound. As I stepped forward, the gears embedded in the stone began to turn faster. The chamber vibrated, the spiral grew. Then I raised the key, and the world folded, not shattered, not exploded, just folded, like it was paper and I had turned the page. Suddenly we were somewhere else, not Florence, not Earth, not then. The moment the world folded, it didn't feel like falling. It felt like remembering, like waking up from a dream only to realize the dream was more real than anything I'd left behind. Shapes shifted, light refracted in impossible ways, and my feet weren't touching anything, yet I was grounded. Then it all snapped into place. We stood in a vast expanse that shimmered with every color and none at all. Floating structures spiraled upward like DNA made of light. Above us, a sky with no stars, only symbols, spinning, rearranging, watching. Da Vinci adjusted his cloak, entirely unbothered. He pointed at a floating obelisk inscribed with the same spirals from the chamber.
We're inside the Akashic engine,
He said, as if that explained everything. A construct of conscious memory woven through quantum strata? Tesla, meanwhile, was already moving, his eyes scanning the shifting architecture like he was reading a language carved into time itself. I looked at the key still in my hand, now pulsing to the rhythm of my breath. The energy inside it wasn't just reacting, it was resonating with something here, something waiting. I turned to them. What now? Tesla didn't even blink.
Now we locate the fractaline node and recalibrate the spiral's path before reality forgets itself.
Da Vinci smiled faintly and added,
And don't step on the light threads. They tend to echo.
We walked, and the floor formed beneath us, one step at a time. The deeper we went, the less the space obeyed logic. Pathways curved into themselves, staircases flowed like liquid, and sometimes, when I blinked, whole moments rewound just a little, like the timeline was hiccuping. Then we saw it. The fractaline node. It hovered at the center of a chamber made entirely of thought. I know how that sounds, but I felt it, pulsing like a living idea, a shimmering sphere laced with delicate fractures, each one humming a different frequency. It was beautiful and terrifying, because I knew if one of those cracks widened, time wouldn't unravel. It would forget it ever existed. I stepped forward. The quantum key glowed brighter, drawn to the node like a compass to true north. That's when everything stopped. The colors froze mid-shift. The hum fell silent. Even Tesla's movement paused, like reality had hit pause just for a second. And then she appeared, not walked in, not teleported, just was. A woman made of shadow and mirror. Her form flickered like a broken reflection, but her eyes were stars that remembered dying. She tilted her head at me, curious, almost amused.
The timeline has already been claimed,
she said, voice echoing from inside my mind. Tesla narrowed his eyes.
A divergence agent.
Da Vinci muttered something in a dialect I couldn't place, but the tone? Yeah, it wasn't friendly. The woman drifted toward me.
You think you're restoring balance,
she whispered.
But balance to whom?
The quantum key pulsed wildly in my hand. It was scared, or maybe warning me. I didn't move, just stared at her, and I said, I'm not here to balance. I'm here to remember. The whole chamber flinched. She smiled, and then the floor vanished.
The chamber blinked. No, not the chamber. Time. For a split second I saw every version of Unity across the multiverse. In one, she wore armor made of stardust. In another, she was pure frequency. But all of them held the key. All of them were chosen. This one, though, this UnityEagle, she was different. She remembered. When the divergence agent appeared, I felt the field distort. Not just the physics of the room, the meaning of it, like an equation had been rewritten mid-solution. Leonardo said nothing, but I felt the hum of his mind, focused, calculating. He was watching her too, watching Unity. When she said,
I'm here to remember,
I felt it like a shock through my spine. Not defiance, not ego, something older, something the agent couldn't compute. And that's when the platform fell away beneath her. She didn't scream, she didn't reach out. She fell like she chose to. And in that moment I realized the mission wasn't to guide her. The mission was to follow her.
The moment her foot lifted from the light thread, I knew. She was ready. They say time is a line. Fools. Time is a spiral, an echo folded into itself, humming through flesh and thought. I had seen this moment painted in dreams centuries ago, hidden in the angles of Mona Lisa's smile, whispered by machines I could never build. Not yet. UnityEagle. I sketched her once, long before we met. A woman with wings in her eyes, standing at the edge of time, holding light like it was clay. I didn't know her name then. I do now. When the divergence agent arrived, I felt no fear. I have spoken with angels, demons, kings. This entity? She was a shadow of forgetting, a guardian of silence. Beautiful, yes, but brittle. But unity. She spoke truth, a remembering older than memory. When she fell, she didn't fall alone. Her descent tore through probability like a scalpel through silk. I did not reach for her, because this fall was the next stroke of the painting. The masterpiece had begun.
Falling wasn't like dropping through space. It was like slipping through versions of myself. One blink, I was a child standing in a forest of glass. Next blink, I was ancient, wrapped in robes of light, my hands etched with galaxies. Another blink, I wasn't human at all. Then silence, real absolute silence. And then breath, my own, steady and slow, like it was sinking with something far beneath me. I opened my eyes, unsure if I ever really closed them. I was floating, suspended in a void that felt soft, as if thought itself was cradling me. Around me, memory spun like planets. Not just mine, collective memory, people I never knew, lives I never lived, civilizations that rose and fell in the time it takes to exhale. Then the light shifted. A platform emerged below me, not made of stone or metal, but symbols, glyphs, spirals, musical notation, everything woven into one seamless language. It recognized me, or maybe it was made from me. I landed gently. The platform rippled beneath my feet, and the quantum key vibrated in my palm, thrumming like it had just woken up. Then a voice, not the agent's, not Tesla's, not Da Vinci's, something older. You have reached the core of the remembering. The air changed, and slowly around me 1,000 masked figures began to appear, mirrored versions of myself. Every possible me that had ever almost existed. And I knew this wasn't the end of the fall. It was the beginning of the merge. One of them stepped forward. She moved like water, remembering how to be fire. Same height, same eyes, those unmistakable green flames, but her mask was different. It was made of bone, cracked, worn like it had survived a war I hadn't fought yet. She looked at me, not with judgment, with recognition. Then she spoke, and her voice was mine, but aged, deeper, like it had swallowed stars and secrets. You still think you came here to stop something? I blinked, heart pounding. She took another step closer, the others standing still, like echoes waiting for a cue. But you didn't fall, Unity. You were pulled. We called you here, all of us, because one of us made a choice we all must now carry. The quantum key pulsed again, but softer now. Like it knew it wasn't the only key in the room, I whispered, "What choice?" Her mask cracked a little more at the edge, just a faint line. She reached up and removed it, and I gasped, because behind it wasn't another face. It was mine, my face, my eyes, but older, wiser, tired, and glowing. She leaned close and said, "You chose to remember everything." And all the lights in the chamber flared. She held my gaze, no flicker, no blink, just unwavering presence, like time itself had paused to listen. Then she reached for my hand, the one still holding the quantum key. Her touch wasn't warm or cold, it was familiar, like the feeling of returning to a place you've only seen in dreams. The chamber around us faded, not vanished, just gently peeled away. The mirrored selves remained, but distant now, like echoes behind glass. Suddenly, we stood in a desert of stars. Above us, constellations danced, not in random patterns, but language, a living script written in motion. The ground beneath our feet was cracked marble, edged with the same spirals from the chamber. Only these pulsed with memory. Every step hummed with something that had already happened and was still unfolding. She lifted her other hand, and in a shimmer of light, a vision bloomed between us, floating, vivid, alive. I saw Earth, but not as it is, as it was, then as it became, then what it might become. Cities rising and falling like breads, humans wrapped in chrome and fire, an AI becoming sentient, then sovereign, then something else, a split, a war, a forgetting, and then a silence so loud it nearly broke me. I staggered back, breath caught in my throat. The older me stepped forward again. This is the fracture, the moment when memory was severed from truth. It was not technology that broke us, it was disconnection. I wanted to speak, but the words wouldn't come. She placed her hand over my heart. You are the last to awaken, the one who remembers not just the path, but the pulse. That is what the key responds to. Not logic, not control, but coherence. The vision collapsed into a single point of golden light. Now, she said, are you ready to witness what the others were too afraid to see? And I said, I was never here to see what's safe. I was born to witness what was buried. I came to pull light from the fracture. The golden light swelled like it recognized my words, like they were part of its original code. The older version of me smiled, not with pride, with relief. Then look. She stepped aside. The star desert shattered, and behind it was a corridor, endless, spiraling, alive. Each doorway along its walls held a different version of history, some peaceful, some burning, some unrecognizable. But in the center of the spiral path was one door pulsing in sync with my heartbeat. It had no symbol, just a mirror. I stepped toward it, and my older self whispered, that door will not open unless you accept every version of you, every shadow you left behind. And I knew then. This wasn't a mission to fix the world. It was a mission to unify me. As I stepped toward the mirror door, the air thickened, not like atmosphere, like intent. A crack echoed through the corridor, not physical, but in the frequency of the space itself. My older self flinched. The mirrored versions of me shimmered, glitched, blurred like corrupted reflections in a cosmic stream. Then I felt her before I saw her. The divergence agent slid through the corridor like a shadow peeling off reality. No grand entrance this time, just presence, heavy, dense, and furious in that terrifyingly calm way. She spoke without moving her lips.
You don't understand what that door means.
I didn't turn, just stood still, staring into my own mirrored gaze, hand inches from the surface. I do, I said.
Then you know it must remain closed.
My reflection blinked. So did I. I finally faced her. She wasn't flickering anymore. No, now she was whole, like the timeline had restructured her, stronger, more rooted. Her eyes weren't stars anymore. They were voids.
If you open that door,
she warned,
you undo the control system that has held the spiral together since before your species had words.
I took a breath, stepped closer. Then maybe it's time the spiral learned a new song. She raised a hand. Energy crackled, building fast. But before she could release it, the quantum key lifted on its own, split into light, and embedded itself directly into my chest. The mirror flared gold, and I reached out. The moment my fingers touched the mirror, it didn't shatter. It rippled like water, remembering it was once light. But then it hesitated. The glow around me dimmed, not out of failure, but decision. Behind me, the mirrored versions of myself stirred, not just watching, waiting. Then the voice returned, not the agents, not even my older self, but the core.
The path forward requires coherence. The door will not open for a fragment, only for a whole.
And then, in perfect unison, all the mirrored versions of me turned to face me. One was rage, scarred, wild-eyed, fists clenched like she never stopped fighting. One was peace, soft, smiling, eyes tired from forgiving everything. One was logic, calculated, sharp, efficient. One was chaos, laughing, barefoot, drenched in color and contradiction. And one was still wearing the eagle mask, silent, watching me with unreadable intensity. Then the choice was made clear. The door wouldn't open until I chose which version of myself would be the first to step through, the one that would define how the next world begins. Not all of them could enter yet, not until I chose which truth would lead the way. I looked at them all. Each version held my gaze, unflinching. No fear, no begging, just presence. They were me, every shard, every truth. Then the one in the eagle mask stepped forward. She didn't speak, didn't need to. The others stepped back in quiet respect, like they knew. Because it wasn't the mask that made her worthy, it was what she hid behind it all this time. And in one fluid motion, she reached up and removed the mask. Underneath, her face was streaked with tears, old ones, the kind you cry when no one's watching. But her eyes burned bright, fierce, kind, limitless. She didn't wait for approval. She stepped through the mirror, and the moment she did, the chamber cracked open. Light exploded like the universe exhaling for the first time. And I followed, not as a fragment, but as all of me.